This is, trying to think where to start. So I am by no means a web developer in any sense of the word. I do mainly PowerShell and automation, and I give a talk on that every year here. Thought I'd do something a little different. So recently we've started a PowerShell group here in Grand Rapids. You can find us at grposh.github.io. And I've also started blogging myself as well. And I didn't want to use like WordPress and stuff like that. So I started looking at other solutions to blog and have a website. And I like to know how things work. That's why I write scripts and code, and I don't want to just go to WordPress and use a GUI and whatever, spit out blogs. So I stumbled across Jekyll, and the cool part about Jekyll is that GitHub will totally render Jekyll for you with their GitHub pages. So you can use Jekyll and you can use GitHub and you can put up your own free website. Now Jekyll is a static page generator, so it's not, you're not going to be able to set up like a shopping cart, and you're not going to be able to do things like that. You're not going to be able to accept credit cards and things like that. Can you? Well, okay. Let me rephrase that. You're not going to be able to natively accept payment and stuff with Jekyll. So anyway, I thought I'd just give a demo, a little intro in what I found in my learning experiences along the way, because it's written in Ruby and it's done by a lot of Linux people, and I don't know, it seems like Linux and their man pages don't seem to be very friendly to the Windows user. I don't know, I seem to have a lot of trouble when I use Linux every time. So like I said, I thought I'd share my experiences. So well, of course now I probably will end up not having any internet access, which is perfect for this. I was seriously just connected, like not even 5 minutes ago. Yeah, that's what I mean. I was connected and everything. I was like connected as I sat over there. I was browsing the internet. All I did was come up here.
That's all it takes.
Let's see if this works. I don't know. Yeah.
Can you turn up the light above you? That would really be so better. The first one. I change anything?
Okay.
Oh, wow. Oh. Well, it puts out all the lights.
Nice. Thank you. Much. If it's good for you guys, it's good for me. Yeah. Good.
I like darkness. All right.
Okay. So let's get started. Since we're already like 4 minutes into this. So anyway, here we go. So here's my little I don't know, I hate presentations and slideshows. So here's my little checklist. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna basically spin up a blog real quick. So we're gonna spin up a blog here pretty quick, and we're gonna actually push it to GitHub so we can actually see it on the internet, assuming I still have connectivity when we get that point. And we're gonna do it pretty quick. So just anyway. So this is assuming a couple things. One, we're developing on Windows. Two, you have a little bit of familiarity with command line tools, and you also need to somewhat know about Git and GitHub. Now you can create Jekyll sites and host them internally. You can host them on other, web servers, but for this we're going to use GitHub. So basically the only things that you really need is Ruby and the Ruby dev kit. You need Git, so you got a way to push it up, whether you want to use Git command line or use Git for Windows client, that's your call. I'm going to use command line. You also need some way to edit code. So you can use Notepad if you want. I personally prefer VS Code. So that's what we're going to go ahead to use. So for the environment I have set up here, I basically created just a VM. I did a couple prereqs. I installed code. I installed ConEmu, which is a console emulator that I prefer for I installed ConEmu, which is a really nice console emulator. I use that all the time. So anyway, I went ahead and downloaded the prereqs because I was afraid we wouldn't have any network connectivity, so I wanted to make sure I had them. So basically, we're going to actually go ahead and do this in real time. The only thing we're not going to configure right now is Git. So if you've never configured Git, I will publish on my site this README, or it's actually one of my GitHub GIFs. So you can actually follow along, and there's links on right here how to actually set up Git, but we just don't have enough time. So let's go ahead and do this. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to install Ruby. Ruby is its own scripting language that Jekyll runs on. Kind of hoping this would run faster. I gave this VM a bunch of resources. Hang on 1 second. Let me turn this one off. Maybe that'll help a little bit. So default settings is fine. There's nothing really to this. I just wanted to show you guys that I didn't have anything like installed under the hood that make this work as easy as it does. So yeah, Ruby's its own, it's object-oriented scripting language. I'm pretty sure Jekyll runs on Ruby on Rails portion of it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but like I said, I'm not a web dev by any means. Come on. There's one caveat in the installer of the Ruby development kit, which is why I wanted to show this part especially. You don't need to install this part, so you can uncheck that. It's to install MySys or whatever. It's like the Linux sub, yeah. So the dev kit comes as a self-extracting zip, so you can go ahead and run this. Don't just extract it right here because it will put all the files right on your desktop. So I typically browse to, I just generally put it right in the same folder where Ruby's installed and create a new folder, call it dev kit. Go ahead and extract that thing a second. So these days, pretty much everyone is running on 64-bit platforms. And there's one little caveat that happens right here that if you don't change the line of code, you can't seem to install on 64-bit. So basically, in my little, here my little rubric, if you will, after we extract the Ruby dev kit, you need to add the 64-bit path into the initialization script that the dev kit needs. And without that, it will never find your installation of Ruby, and yeah, you'll have a bunch of errors. And the worst part about it is that this error was reported back in like 2013. And it's literally one line of code that needs to be added. Oops, minimize the wrong part. It's literally one line of code that needs to be added, and I don't know why they have not done it yet. Go to where that's extracting. So as soon as that's done. It's probably all of the Linux binaries is definitely the wrong word, but well, maybe not. The Linux binary is probably compiled with some Linux subsystem, so it will run on Windows. I would assume. Anyway, I haven't really done much development in Ruby. I've tried a little bit, but I have a hard time learning new languages when I don't have an application for it. And you know, I've done the Hello World script with it, and then I'm like, okay, I'll just go back to PowerShell because I need to do something in Active Directory or something, you know. So I honestly don't know how it's written for Windows. It's probably a batch script calling something else, doing something, but. Okay, so anyway, so this, in the Ruby dev kit where we just extracted it here, this DK file, this is the one that you need to edit. So you basically are going to call this file twice, and you're going to create an initialization configuration, and then you're going to install the dev kit. And really all that's doing is telling the dev kit where your installation of Ruby is. So as you can see right here on line 13, this is where, sorry, on line 14, this is where we actually need to put that line of code. So let me copy that real quick. So like I said, if you run the installation without that, you're going to just bang your head on the wall. It's going to keep saying, unable to find Ruby, I'm unable to find Ruby, and you're like, anyway. Oop, let me save that. So then we're going to cd into that directory. cd dev kit, I think I called it. Yeah. So we're going to say Ruby, the DK. Then we're going to say init for initialize. Did I install Ruby? Oh, sorry. I got to restart the shell. I already had that open. Let me do that again. Man, this VM is running slow. So DK init. So as you can see, the initialization is complete. So then we have to say Ruby DK install. Okay, might help if I actually put the RB after it. Cool. So now that it's installed, there's 2 gems that you need to be able to run Ruby. So again, that's in here. I'm just going to copy and paste for sake of typos. So being as slow as this is running, this is probably going to take a second. So this is going to install what's called Bundler, and it's also going to install Jekyll. So Jekyll is the framework for your web server. Bundler is, from my understanding, is a gem that is going to help you kind of create a package for your website. So you can, if you're going to use, I mean, there's plenty of extension gems written. A gem is like a DLL, if you will, for Ruby. So a gem, you know, there might be something for like highlighting or code blocks or, you know what I mean, something to do something to your website, and it might rely on gems. A good example is there's a GitHub Pages gem that you need to actually host on, GitHub. That's all built in when you install Jekyll, but Bundler will make sure when you deliver that up to GitHub, it knows the gems that you need. It creates a gem.lock file, and it basically is a list of all of the gems your site's using, the versions, and their dependencies. So, looks like it's installing help, so we should be just about done. Okay, so why that's going, we're gonna go ahead and kick over to the other side. So, if you want to actually host your site on GitHub Pages, which is free, all you need is a GitHub account, you got a couple of options of things you need to do. So first of all, just by having a GitHub Pages account, you get a root repository of your username.github.io. For example, my username is .ps1. So if you go to .ps1.github.io, that's a repository that GitHub lets you have that you can host only a Pages account in. So if you already have that created and you want to create another website, you basically need to create a subpage. So what we're going to do is, I already have, as you can see right here, I already have one. So following along here in my gist. So basically, when you're going to create your repository, you got 2 options. Either one, create your root one if you have never done that. So when you do that, you're going to create a repository called your username.github.io. You basically commit your Jekyll site up to there, and you're good. You now have, you know, your own website at .github.io. Now for this example, because I already have a site, we're going to create a subpage, in which case we'll have like .ps1.github.io / I'm just going to call this one Jekyll, for example. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new repository. We're going to call this thing Jekyll. Say this is our, oh, actually I like that. I kind of already tested this, so we'll just use that. Make it public. You want this, I mean, you can initialize a README if you want. The README isn't going to render on the website, but every good repo should have one. So here's one important part that's good to add, is right here, you can initialize your repository with a built-in git-nor, which is files that you don't want committed into your repository. There actually is one for Jekyll. So the main thing is what this is going to do is it's going to not have your site that is rendered locally on your computer committed up there, because it's just space you don't need. And also the folder that it creates there, you don't want in the repository, because when GitHub renders this, it needs to make that folder. So you definitely, if you're not going to do this yourself, here, let me just go ahead and do it. If you're not going to do this yourself, you need to add these 3 things to your git-nor, because otherwise your GitHub pages will not, it's not going to render correctly. So we basically just did option B here. We create a repository that it's going to be a web path under our username, i.e. exactly what I just said, .ps1.github.io /Jekyll. So in there, you only need to do this when it's a sub page. We need to create a new branch in there called GitHub Pages. So is what we're going to do is go back here. We're just going to say new branch, GitHub Pages. Oops. Now, this allows you to have a project, and you can have a separate branch on your project called GitHub Pages. So you can maintain all your code for whatever you're doing and create a project site for that, and be able to maintain all the code for the project's website, if you will, and you can keep it all in the same repository. It's really pretty slick. So after, oh, that got scrolled up. Okay, so we just did option B. So we just went ahead and created our branch. So after that, go ahead and you need to clone it. You know what I mean? Clone it down to your local your local computer. Excuse me. So if I can remember where that's at. They just changed their site. Like they removed gist from up here too. Frustrating. Usually there's like a clone or download. Awesome. Oh, you know what? It might help if I was at the root of the site. Okay. So, basically wherever we want to put this bad boy. So I don't know, we'll like CD back to my desktop. So I don't know, maybe make a directory, call it Jekyll. We're going to CD into that. And we're going to clone this thing, git clone, that URL. Now, all we did in here was get, all we have is the git nor and readme. I mean, that's all we put in there. That's obviously not a web page. I'm actually curious. Just because we have the branch, there technically should be a page for it. So if we go to I'm just curious if it renders anything. I don't know. Okay, cool. All right. So where were we here? So we went ahead and we just cloned it. So now we got to do everything in that branch. So we need to change branches. So cd GitHub Pages. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so now you can see right here in my little Git prompt that we're on that branch. So now there's a couple ways that you can initialize a brand new website. Jekyll on their site shows you can just do Jekyll new and give it a name, but that's going to create a directory and everything. I don't want it in another directory. I want it right here. So that's why we need to use this for. So this is saying Jekyll new dot for in my current directory, create a new site. So Jekyll has kind of like a canned, I don't know how to explain it, like a canned little temp website that you can just spin up so you can see this thing work. The fact that that says running bundle install makes me think that my Jekyll install never completed, but. Okay, so now look at all this stuff. We got a bunch of things in there, right? So now if we want to see that thing, we say bundle, execute, Jekyll, serve. This is going to host it up locally because I want to see what I'm building before I push it up to the internet, right? So you can see it's running locally right here on our web server. Actually, let me just do this second, just so you can. Okay, mouse doesn't want to work anymore. Okay, let me do this second. I'm gonna cancel that a second. So if we go to this site, nothing, right? Let's run it again. There's our site. So like I said, this is kind of like a canned, you know what I mean? It's like a plain Jane template, so you can kind of see what you got going on. It kind of gives you a little bit of explanation. You know, you can edit your config.yaml, so you can, or whatever, YML, however you say that, to, you know what I mean, change these values and stuff. There's only one post. You go into the post about it, so it gives you a little bit of stuff. But again, if we go back, I just want to show you this. So there's nothing right now at, you know, GitHub, or sorry, .ps1.github .io/Jekyll. So if we go in here and we go to, and we actually open up in that website, we open up the YAML file. Excuse me. So this is kind of like the config for the entire site. So we can, we can change a few settings in here. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to say http://ps1.github.io. That's our base URL, and then the sub page, if you will. Sorry, I thought I was reading this wrong. The base host. Sorry, I put these in the wrong spot. This one in the URL. This one right here. So it's going to be Jekyll, because it's going to use this to know how to find itself as it's navigating the site. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to terminate this. I'm now going to say git add. So add all those files to the repository. Git commit. Oops. All. Add a message. Push. Push. Push it up to GitHub. Give it a second. It'll probably take a minute before it actually renders. I hope it actually works. It's got to actually it's got to do the bundle execute that we just did. You know what I mean? So it's got to build the site. Oops. I demoed this so many times and it worked. Well, guys, I don't know why it's not actually working. Well, so let's take a look. So let's go to our repo and make sure the files exist first of all. Yeah, it definitely should. .ps1.github.io, because it's going to go off your root site. Man. Okay, just making sure I spelled it right. Man, now I'm really mad. Oh my goodness, I spelled my domain wrong. Holy smokes. All right, so it helps when you navigate to the right URL. Okay, all right, we're running out of time here. I want to go in a little more just to quick show you I want to show you the concept of how the site works. So let me open up the folder a minute. That's more important. All right, it really helps so you can see it. Okay, so the concept of the way that this works is basically the config is where you're going to control all your static variables through the entire site, right? And what you do is you actually write your posts in here, and I really love this. You write it in Markdown. And then when you write it into Markdown, it's converted by Jekyll when it's rendered into HTML. So I personally way rather write in Markdown than I like writing in HTML. HTML tags are the worst, if you ask me. So you can use GitHub flavored Markdown, and you can do code blocks, and you can do, you know what I mean? You can do anything you want in here that Markdown will support, and it'll just convert that for you. And so basically up here you get what's called your page front matter, and these you can use within the site. So you can reference this in here. This here is a tag. So in here you can actually say page.title right here, and you'd be able to pull that. Or if you wanted to pull values from your YAML, you can actually use site.username or anything else that's put in here. For example, GitHub username. So you can actually call that with curly brace site.username and curly brace. So I really was hoping we had more time to dive into that part a little bit. So if you kind of want to see a little bit more, if we how in depth this can really get. If we quick go here, let me just. I was actually going to show you building this with its own. Actually, let's just do that. It'll be way faster, or it'll be way cooler. Okay, so the cool part is you can download hundreds of pre-canned themes out there on the internet, and you can build them to however you want. So I actually grabbed this one I use personally. It's called Personal Jekyll Theme, right? So I'm actually going to copy all of these files. I'm going to put them in here. Quick open this back up and look at the config.yaml. I don't think we really need to throw anything in here. I'll just render it locally so you can actually see how it looks. So if we do bundle execute, let's see if it'll just render local real quick. Oh, we're missing a gem. Let's see if it'll install quick. You'll need to install this gem. It just did. I think you can do bundle install. Deprecation, the gems configuration. Oh my goodness. Someone changed a word in what this needs to look like. It now needs to be plugins. Let's just take this one out for now. I really wanted to show you guys this. Okay, so it looks like it rendered. So it's HTTP 127. Okay. Is that what it said it was, though? Oh, no, I still never even did it. Oh, I done like the emoji one. Who cares? Screw it. I don't want any of these plugins. Just... the demo gods are killing me here.
Was your sacrifice unacceptable?
Apparently, holy smokes. Okay. Well, we actually didn't. This is really, it should have a much better homepage. But you can take these themes, work through a little bit of garbage there anyway, and you can customize them however you want. So like I took this one, and so if you go to my actual site, so like here's my actual site, and this is written completely on Jekyll, and it's all static. And I mean, I don't know, it really took me about 4 hours to put this together. So, and all of this stuff is all specified in the YAML. It's like a little template. So like, I mean, you go look at this YAML and like you fill it out. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, what's my, what do I want this text to say that was typing at the top, and how fast I want it to go, and like right here, description, like what do I want it to say for that about. But it supports, one last thing I'd say is like, it supports tagging and everything, so you can go into, you can look at any of my blogs here, and these all support tags. Like right here, are the category. You can go look at anything else I've written on that category. It's got code blocks. It's a great little product. I mean, especially if you're not a web developer, because I'm not. But I've been able to fumble my way through this and keep a pretty steady website going. And lastly, you can go to grposh.github.io, and this is also running on Jekyll. So it's even got like little animations. You know what I mean? So this just keeps all of our events up here. So anyway, that's my very poorly demonstrated spiel. Hopefully...